It's on. Can you hear me? Yeah, good. I'm really pleased to be here today, and I'm really pleased that the comrade sitting near the back there raised the issue of local government this morning. Because I think in all the discussion about austerity and the cuts and the way forward, local government has been completely overlooked. And let me just tell you, the emails and the discussions I've had with Unison branches in the last week about cuts in local government. So yesterday, Notts County Council have to reduce their budget by £134 million in the next 2 years. In Hull, both Labour councils, the whole workforce being dismissed under Section 188 of the redundancy legislation, re-engaged on worse terms and conditions. Derby City, £81 million worth of cuts, all the staff issued with Section 188 notices. Newcastle, 300 jobs to go on top of 600 jobs last year. 25% of teaching assistants in Newham schools to be made redundant. Meals on Wheels in Lewisham, up by 50 pence per meal. Grants to voluntary organisations being slashed, libraries closed, etc. That may not be news to you, but I think it's news to a lot of people. And the focus of the coalition's austerity binge has been and is local government. 40% of council budgets will be cut by 2015. By 2017, some councils will see 50% of their funding gone. The cuts have been politically biased. Labour councils in the north that were already the victims of Thatcherism, where the pits closed, where manufacturing was run down, where poverty is already at its highest, have been singled out for the biggest cuts, while Surrey and the leafy southeast are doing very well. Thank you very much. This isn't just an ideological attack. This is a political attack. It's an economic attack on local economies. Most local government workers outside of London live in the areas in which they work. They spend 50p of every pound they earn in their local economies. And if this government is remotely serious about an economic revival, then it will see local government workers not just as people to be cut off at the knees, but as local economic actors who will be key to any economic revival. And we all need to remember that in the debates about public sector pay, which I've also been asked to talk about in my 7 minutes. I shall move on. The other thing to say about the dismantling of local government, and that is really what's happening, some councils will go bust by 2016. There is no doubt. Some of them are on the brink already, and there is no doubt that some of them will go under. Local authorities are absolutely critical to creating social networks, to helping build and sustain local economies, to not just protecting people within their authority boundaries, but they have an absolutely critical role also to coordinate public services, should have a much stronger role in my view. And the dismantling of local government now is also going to mean that capacity for the future, even if we get a Labour government that is intent on rebuilding the public sphere, capacity for the future is not going to be there in the way that we've seen with school meals. The privatisation of school meals and the closing of school kitchens has made it almost impossible for councils who want to start producing their own meals to do so, because they cannot invest, they don't have the money to rebuild the kitchens and to start doing their own thing. So this is an absolute crisis in local government, and I think that we in the Labour Party and all the social movements opposed to austerity out there need to be thinking much more about localities and less about Parliament, less about centralised politics and more about how we oppose what's going on and how we shift politics at a local level. Privatisation is, as Frank has said, absolute madness. And set aside even our ideological opposition to the unjustified attack on the public sphere, privatisation at its most basic is an absolute waste of public money. There are huge amounts of money that go into just the scoping exercises that local authorities and other public bodies carry out before they start the process. So you bring in PricewaterhouseCoopers or KPMG to do a scoping exercise. They know bugger all about public services, but you bring them in to tell you what to do at vast expense. You then spend, in some cases, millions of pounds in the procurement process itself, in tendering, in drawing up specifications, drawing up tenders, getting lawyers, blah, 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 blah. Then you're not allowed to put an in-house bid in. You then end up paying large amounts of money to executives, managers within the privatised service. You then have to pay the shareholder premium, and quite often you have to pay for fraud as well. And in that process, all of that money that should be going to provide the public services that we need, and of course we need more of them with an ageing population and more young people, is being wasted. We're throwing it away. And one of our huge challenges is to get the next Labour government to turn its face against privatisation. I don't think we're anywhere near that yet. I think we haven't won that argument within the party and certainly within the PLP. And I think it's there's a very clear economic argument there. Okay, what does that mean? 22 seconds. I haven't said anything about public sector pay, so perhaps I'll pick that up in the questions and answers, because it is a big issue.